Hey guys, it's Tori and I'm here right now with Davey. How are you doing?
I am good. How are you?
I am fantastic. So you're in Orlando today.
I am.
It was
finally back in Orlando.
bright and sunny and perfect weather for you today.
Yeah, it was great. We were cruising. We got over the border after Georgia. We all busted out of the van, put some sleeveless t-shirts and flip-flops on, celebrated being in Florida, and then like an hour later, it was the most torrential downpour I've ever seen, and cars swerved in front of us and we almost died. But we got here like 2 hours late, and now we're here.
Amazing. You really, I think we lived up to the expectation of Florida today. We really did. Every
Always.
stereotype on point.
Every stereotype happened. Absolutely happened. We stopped at the first gas station and everyone got out and we're like, we're in Florida. Actually, my guitar player Josh said, "Where in Florida are we?" And I said, "Don't get involved. We're just in Florida. Like, don't just let them do their thing. They're doing their thing down here, so don't even worry about it."
100%.
Yeah.
And you are on this tour right now with Riley and Michael Barr, which is a very cool lineup that you guys have going on. And it feels like a good squad, you know.
It is.
So how did the three of you come together to form this tour?
Well, Riley and Michael and myself have known each other. I've known Michael for 10 years. Volumes and Vanna did like a sick metalcore tour together a few years ago. We've been friends ever since. And then Riley's been tour manager. I actually met Riley at Warped Tour in like 2010.
Wow.
He was like, he always brought our band extra beer, which was the way to our heart apparently at the time.
That's anyone's heart on Warped Tour. It's like a barter system with beer and water.
He was mad cool, and we just kind of like, you know, hung out and whatever. And then fast forward, you know, I didn't even know Riley could sing, and he dropped like something on the internet like 9 months ago, and I think everyone was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
Which is cool that he like kind of just grinded and did his thing and never tried to live off any hype. Me and Michael were talking, and like I put out something new, and he reached out to me, and we had just been sending stuff back and forth. We're like, we should do a small tour together.
Yeah.
And then Riley called up and was like, "You gonna leave me out of this, you fools?" So we just decided I'll team up. It's cool because Riley's kind of brand new at this stuff. You know, Michael's been doing his thing for a minute. I think he hasn't been on the road in a year. I haven't toured in over a year, and Vanna broke up over a year ago. So I think it's like kind of like this new start for all of us in this tour, which has been cool. And the van has been the best place ever. I'm gonna miss that Sprinter when we're done. It's been our like home. So it's been awesome to be on the road. And my guitar player Josh is out, and then our photographer Sleep Tight. It's like a really like great little family. You know, just touring. You know, you become like a little family again. So yeah.
It's interesting how you all come from different walks of life, but in the sense you all are kind of in the same chapters right now of experimenting with new versions of your music and things like that. So have you guys kind of like learned and fed off of each other throughout this tour? How has that been?
I've learned so much from the two of them, and like we've stayed up late nights and talked because they've been like doing it a little bit longer. And Riley's been working on studio stuff like this actually longer than I have. And this is like a transition for me, so I'm taking notes on like their performances, like how they carry themselves. Like I'm always trying to learn from my friends and music that's like happening right now. So yeah, I've learned a lot. Riley's also given me pointers. I mean, he was giving me pointers before we even left because like he saw what I did. He was a big Vanna fan and supporter, and he, you know, we talked on the phone and he just talked about stepping up in different ways and all the other things. So truly like an actual inspiration, these two guys for me. And also it was embarrassing. They're like two artists on my Spotify most listened last year was these two guys.
Now
I really enjoyed both their music. I'm a fan of both guys anyways, so I've definitely learned a lot from them, and I'm going to hopefully continue to grow with that.
Yeah, it's great to be fans of your friends. It's the best way to do it. Absolutely. So you have been performing your solo music on this run, and you've released a couple singles so far, with more on the way, so I've heard. So for anybody who hasn't heard it yet, and maybe is only familiar with Vanna, hasn't heard the solo stuff yet, how does this compare musically and lyrically, and just tell us a little more about it?
Yeah, it's so funny. I announced my first tour, and promoters bought it, and they were like, "Cool, yeah, what is it? What is he doing?"
Even I texted you, and I was like, "So what's going on, Davey?"
Yeah. So yeah, it's more of just kind of like the softer side of things, the lyrics and stuff, and my the passion and like, you know, the message or everything is always the same with me. And I just get to deliver this in a little bit of a different way. And I've some fans have come out on a bunch of tours. The first one, everyone came out, and the #1 response was, "Dude, that was actually good." And I was like, "You didn't have to say actually, but that's totally cool." Yeah, it's kind of like softer, like darker pop stuff, like The Neighborhood and stuff like that. But people that have come to see it, like you know, some Vanna fans that have come and that you know, it was cool for me to even grab anyone from that world. But they were like, it feels the same and it looks the same. The music is just a little different. And for me, it's like, well, it feels the same, it looks the same, but it's music that my mom really likes. And if my mom really likes it, then I'm really happy about it. So.
That's the true reviewer, the music critic you have to worry about.
Mom, yeah, she came to the show in New Hampshire and she enjoyed it. She could hear everything. She didn't need earplugs. There was no moshing, so she was quite happy with the whole thing. So yeah, just it's another side. You think, we get into these bands when we're 19, 20 years old, and you tour and tour and tour, and then, it turned out, Vanna ended when I was like 32, and I'm like, I'm 32 and I've been playing, metalcore for, 13 years, which is awesome, but there's so much more to what I want to do, and so I think this is like my step out. When I first released the first song, I got a bunch of texts from people who were like, dude, what? Seriously? Wow. And as it goes along and as it morphs, I send songs out to like some people sometimes to get opinions. So it's cool. It's changing. It's growing. And I don't know what it's going to be, but I like it. I did the first one. I said, if anyone comes, we'll do it. And it was like 40 to like 150 kids, depending on where it was, which doesn't matter, but I was shocked anyone came. We did the first tour in a car. And then I did that Slaves tour and supported them and met a bunch of new fans. It's cool when people say, I've never heard of you before, no offense. I'm like, no, please don't be, like, I'm not offended. I'm actually really excited that this is the way that you're finding me. So.
And it's cool because it's a clean slate. They're not thinking of you from your other projects. They're only seeing what you're doing now.
Yeah, there's no pre-existing thought of like what it might be. So just, we're here doing this stuff now.
Yeah. How has it been performing like softer music for you? Are you like realizing that you can't call out for circle pits anymore and shit like that? Like,
it's funny, the first 2 tours I did, I was frozen behind a mic stand, like frozen. And part of the conversation I had with Riley, and also watching Michael play, coming from Heavy World too, Riley's like, if you stand behind that mic stand the whole time, I'm gonna hurt you. Like, you need to get out and do something.
You don't want to mess with Riley.
No, not at all. So we, I just kind of started the first show. I just was like, I'm just gonna go for it and move with it and have fun. And I have in-ears, so I'm like in my own world. So it's like in my world, I'm going crazy, but it's a lot softer. So I have to like remember to like kind of calm down sometimes and not take it easy. But I feel it so much, so it's easy to. And like towards the end of Vanna, people like started realizing like I went from being like whatever, jumping off stuff and being wild to just like I just like to dance on stage now, and that's a lot of fun. So I can dance really well to all this stuff. So my mom likes it. I can dance. I'm getting to sing. It's like a win. It's a big win for me. Yeah.
And
totally.
it's just it's exciting because I feel like especially in the last few months, I'm seeing a lot of artists doing what they want to do, and then fans latching onto it instead of the artists do what they think will make fans happy, and then it flops. So it's cool to see that you're doing what you're passionate about again and finding that spark again.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so for anyone who hasn't listened to it yet, which song should they check out as that first impression that you think best encompasses you?
Well, I only have 2 songs, so it won't take you very long. So the first song's called Fragile With Me, and it's a really it's the real emo side of Davey. It's real feelings hours. I put that out first, and it's relatively it's just got guitar and stuff, and then we have some strings, and it's pretty beautiful. And then my new song I just put out is called Big Love Glow, which is cool. It's has production and all this other stuff. Some kid on the internet heard it and was like, "Oh, so you're a trap rapper now?" And I was like, "What? No, not even close." Like, all respect,
I mean, you have a face tattoo. You're pretty much there,
I'm in now. So and then we're gonna put out this next single at the end of this tour, and then I'm gonna put out an EP this summer. So so we'll have a nice collection of stuff to be able to play. I'm excited,
And so you also do have a very specific message, just in general with you, but you said it also translates through your music. So what would you say is that mission statement that you're trying to accomplish here?
I just want people to realize that not only can they if they want to find happiness, success, you want to find success is just happiness, and if you want to find your happiness, you need to chase the things that you want to do. And if I didn't get in the van when I was 19 years old and just with no money and just go around the country not knowing what I was doing, I wouldn't be here. And I need music every day, and I think that a lot of people need music every day, and I just want people to know that no matter where we are in our walks in life, coming together in a room and listening to music together is so therapeutic, and no one's alone in what they're going through. I'm 34 years old and I'm still writing songs about the things and the ups and downs and the circle that life is. So I'm going to continue to share that if people continue to need that.
Absolutely.
So they're not alone. That's my whole thing, is we're never alone. It doesn't matter if there's 200 kids in that room or 2. Those 2 people needed that night. So that's what we're going to try to do. It's just that connection.
Yeah, and your energy is so great. And I know it's one thing to talk about it and another thing to live it. And you're someone who definitely lives it and preaches it and, brings it out in everyone. So it's awesome to see what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So being in a band and being a motivational speaker are 2 things that are very different, but also in a way kind of go hand in hand. Yeah, you do still have a platform and a message that you're trying to share. So what was that turning point in your life where you realized that you were ready ready to take on the big responsibility of being an influencer to younger kids and spreading that message?
Yeah, I think it was when my band was like, you got to stop talking for 5 minutes in between every song. So
take it elsewhere, buddy.
Yeah, no, 2014, like Void and Warped Tour, changed my life, and I told my story of like my childhood growing up and all the way to like punk rock hood or whatever to somebody, and they're like, have you ever thought about like talking to other people about this besides kids at shows? Like, I don't really know how to do that. And I kind of started meeting people, and little by little I met this dude named Mike Smith, who is like a mentor of mine and is one of the biggest youth speakers in the country. And it's funny because bringing to schools, I don't know if everyone knows what I do, but like I go to schools like this and I'm like, hi, what's up? Here's my story. I tell my story of like being a foster child and adopted and growing up and music and how it saved my life and the depression and everything I've gone through. And it's weird because like when I get into assemblies at like 7:45 in the morning, kids are just sitting there like out, and I get on stage and I'm like, hi, we play a video for like Warped Tour and Vanna stuff, and kids are like, wait, what's going on here? I walk out and I'm like, hey everybody, this is not gonna suck. This is gonna be a pretty cool Monday morning.
Especially because kids probably expect something really lame.
Because think about all the assemblies you ever had in high school, they were lame. I skipped them all, so I don't really, I always tell them, I'm like, if this is my assembly, I wouldn't be here, so thanks for being here. And 15 minutes in, these kids realize that like, I'm just like them, and I'm just telling a story, my journey, and hopefully something in my journey you could relate to, and or be sensitive that other people are also having like these harder journeys, and like to be a little more fragile with people in general. So I talk a lot about mental health, which I think is important. And years ago, I guess I never thought I was going to be that guy to talk about that kind of stuff, and I just became that dude. And I was like, well, if no one's going to talk about it, I will, because I lost a lot of friends. And I almost lost myself. So it's kind of the same. And last year, I did this thing all last year where I kind of used getting into like a mosh pit as like a metaphor for like, that's how I started making connections with Vanna, when I finally jumped off a stage and connected with these kids. Even though I was in Vanna for a couple of years and toured before that, nothing clicked until that happened. So I made this analogy of kids like jumping into a mosh pit and like making themselves uncomfortable and getting to their school. And so at the end of my assemblies, I started making all the kids come to the stage, and we'd put on music, and I would have kids stage dive off the stage and crowd surf, and I'm like, this is my job. This is what I get to do. Yeah, so we give them a good time. So it's not that different. And now I started like, my other band Trove has played a couple like school conferences. I'm doing a show next month in a town that I spoke in Washington, and they're busing like all their kids in. We're having a kids band from the school open up the show.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm trying to blend it all together and make it. When I first started, it was like night and day, but little by little, I'm like pushing it all together. And it makes sense. If you know me, it makes sense that I'm also doing that. So,
And this is actually a conversation I've just had in my own life with people, is that you're kind of always expected to be on and always expected to be that person, especially you. You are a motivational speaker, so everyone expects you come into a room and you're always happy. So how do you kind of balance the fact that you are human with also being that person for other people?
So music, honestly. Vanna was over for a while, and nothing was being done. You smell so good, dude.
I hope so.
You smell great.
Oh, you do smell good. I can smell it from here.
Cologne and pussy.
Okay, we'll cut that, but that's fine. So yeah, right at that time when Vanna broke up, I was really busy working, managing some really great bands, and speaking the whole time. And music kind of started falling away from me. I did a couple of tours with Trove, but we're all busy doing stuff. And I hit a point where I was having everyone that I was friends with hitting me up saying, they need me, I need you to this, I'm going through this, I'm doing this. And no one really was asking me how I was doing. And I kept myself so busy after Vanna broke up that I was okay. But there was this void in my life of music, and my buddy Josh, who now plays guitar with me, wrote some beautiful stuff, and he sent it to me, and I was like driving, and I pulled over and I cried. I wrote Fragile with Me in like 10 minutes.
Wow.
And that's how I deal with it, is I just put it to music. And then it's funny because after I wrote the song and then put it out, people heard it and started approaching some of those people like, I love you, but like you have to reciprocate. You have to like give me something here, you know what I mean? Because that's right, I am always the guy when I walk in a room, I'm expected to be like, all right, let's lift the spirits, let's do this. And I think people don't realize that up until 2014, I wasn't that guy. I was still battling a depression that has been lingering since my early 20s, and you know, music and everything has changed my life, and I've manifested that. But like sometimes, like I'm sad. I want to be in, like under a blanket and like be away from everybody. So I think it's really important to remember that, like, no matter what and who the person is or what the person is, like. We all like deal with everything, you know what I mean, just like you do, everyone does. So I think it's really important to remember that. So I just pour everything back into music. That's like pretty much the only way I can do anything. So
yeah, and this is kind of the last question to wrap up this conversation here, but you are also very involved with Hope for the Day,
yes,
nonprofit organization that I had to give a shout out to and ask a little bit about. And something that I found with talking to kids at Warped Tour is a lot of people feel that their problems just aren't big enough to go talk to an organization or talk to somebody. They don't feel validated in their experiences.
Right.
So what advice do you have for them to find help and reach out to an organization like Hope for the Day, or reach out to someone like you or something like that?
I think if you're hurting, it's big enough. I think if it's affecting your daily life, your problem is big enough to reach out to somebody. And I know that, you know, sometimes it's like, Hope for the Day is a really great organization because they are at everything that you're going to go to. They're at shows, they're at Warped Tour, they have, you know, so much resources that you can call in and text in and all these other things. They have a coffee shop now. I mean, President Obama is tweeting about them. You know what I mean? Like, they're doing so much great things, and I love an organization like that. And I always want to encourage people. Sometimes saying like, "Hey, like, I can help you," is kind of like sometimes like yelling to someone who's drowning from a boat. Like, if you just swim to me, I got you. So I think that we need to all, no matter who it is, your friends and people who are hurting, communication is so big and key. Like, if you're hurting enough to be like, wow, I'm sad today, I was sad yesterday, I'm gonna be sad tomorrow, I think it's important to just tell a friend, tell somebody.
And it's never a bother, too, to tell your friends. And tell them.
I think that we always get scared, like, we can't tell our homies things because, like, they also deal with stuff. But, like, this is what makes friendship real, is the fact that we can all kind of connect, and the fact that we can have these conversations with each other, because that's how we heal. Your friends don't have the answers, but sometimes just talking things out loud is something that's great. And then if you need to go beyond that, honestly, listen to me, therapy's awesome. Go to therapy, it's dope. Like, you get to sit there with someone who's trained to help you like file and sort your thoughts. They went to school for it for like a million years, and you get to kind of
literal million.
Yeah, and you get to like kind of just let everything out and organize your life. So I got a lot better when I started talking about my problems, even just through music or whatever. So just talk to each other, man. You just gotta talk to each other. That's all it's about.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for hanging out. It was so great talking to you. Yeah, and everybody watching, make sure you check out his solo music. It's on Spotify and all the streaming sites and everywhere.
Google
all
Music,
that.
whatever you got, it's
you
there.
know it.
No excuse.
And very excited for the EP that's coming this summer. Good stuff. Subscribe for more videos. We'll catch you later. Bye.